the coach. His name was Dustin Felder, because remember, it was an acting class I had never done. So he was like, stand-up comedy is your into the industry.
Of all the teachers, I said the one guy that really made an impact that was palpable and tangible and gave me a different outlook was Bill Hall.
My dad, he's been in law enforcement for over 20 years. He taught like the 4 rules of gun safety.
It was always the mess, but like right out of the gate, it was Carter and Keith Hernandez. Those were the guys.
You know, I just want to say thank you. I've been watching you since I was a kid. Like I watched the Chappelle Show, and we would recite that shit all the time.
It surprised me how much I enjoyed. I coached my daughter's softball team this year. It was one of the best times of my life.
I dedicated this to Angela because I would not have done any of the stuff that I've been doing had it not been for her.
Sup? Welcome to episode number 153 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choate. For more about this show, please check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. That forwards to the link tree with everything related to this show. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. Please subscribe on YouTube. I'm at Adam Choate on Instagram and Twitter. If you'd like to follow me, adamchoate.com for everything else related to what I'm working on. Today we have New Hampshire's own musician and podcaster, Ben Weir. He's the founder of the Libertarian Party Emo Caucus and the host of the Shut the Punk Up podcast. He's originally from Pennsylvania and Colorado and tells me all about growing up as the eldest of 5 siblings in a pretty conservative household. Ben is grateful for his upbringing, but soon enough as a kid, he started to get into all sorts of punk music as he started to learn the values of individualism. We talk family, we talk politics, we talk music, and we talk Ben's favorite band up to this day, MxPx. Let's just get started. Here's Ben Weir. Okay, so it's good to see you today, Ben Weir. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here, dude. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. How are you holding up during whatever year this is?
Is it 2024 already? Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Life is always busy, but it's gonna. I keep trying to like take responsibilities off my shoulders and like delegate or just like shed them entirely. But then like whenever I dump one, it seems like 2 more get added on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it just never ends.
How do you stay? We'll go on tangent, I'm sure, but how do you stay like organized with responsibilities? Do you have a system, a digital, write things down, computer, calendars? What's kind of your system?
A lot of spreadsheets and notes in my phone. Like notes and to-do lists on my phone are like my thing. So like that's like, I don't know. That's just like pretty much how I stay on track. And even then I like, it's still hard to stay on track because I like won't get to something this day. I have to add it on the next day. Then the next day's list will just like add up to even more. And you know how it is, dude. It's
life just keeps coming at you each day. Where are you right now located?
So I live in Manchester, New Hampshire. And I also am staying in Massachusetts about half the time. My girlfriend has a place in Massachusetts as well. But I live in my primary residence is New Hampshire. And I love it here. I moved to here, I think it was like 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And it's been great. Actually from your state, Sacramento, as you know.
That's right. So you've been out there a couple of years now, you said?
Yeah.
How far is your girl apart? Because that's all New England. That could be 10 minutes. That could be an hour.
Dude, it's like a 40-minute drive.
Okay.
It's really not bad at all. Yeah. New Hampshire is like a pretty small state. 45 minutes to get to Massachusetts, or not even. It takes less to cross the border. It takes like an hour to get into Vermont and an hour to get to Maine from here. So pretty convenient spot, you know. Doesn't take too long to get to anywhere you want to be. It's kind of like, I don't know how familiar you are with Sacramento, but like I felt like Sacramento was a pretty central area. Like if I wanted to like go somewhere cool, I could just go up to Tahoe, which was like an hour away, or I could go out to the bay, or I could go up to the lakes and go fishing or go hiking up north, you know, like it's kind of a good central spot where I'm at right now. So
you were born and raised in the Sacramento area?
No, I only lived there for like, I only lived there for like 3.5 years. It was 3.5 years too long, actually. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. I've lived in Colorado, Georgia, Washington, I've lived kind of all over the place, like 15 years in Colorado and I think about 12 in Pennsylvania, 12 to 14 in Pennsylvania. So
In that order. So it was Colorado,
yeah,
then
well, it was Pennsylvania, and then we moved to Colorado, and then I joined the military, and I was in the Army. And my dog is squeaking up a storm, but yeah. So I was in the Army. That's where I was when I was in Georgia, and then I went to Fort Lewis, Washington for a very short period of time, then back to Georgia. So,
Oh man, this is going to be interesting to unwrap and unpack, and I'll try. But
I've been everywhere.
You've been, were you in a, I mean, we could speak to as much as you want to, as far as like your personal stuff, but like, was it, you were in a military family? Is that what it was?
I mean, I have a lot of family that was in the Army and the infantry, and that's kind of why I decided to do that. I needed to get out of my parents' house at the time. And I had an uncle that was like, you should do this. He's also a recruiter as his job. So he's like, you really need to go and do this and it'll be great for you. And I'm like, man, I was an anarchist at the time. So I was already feeling dirty about the whole thing, but I was like, I really need to get out of the house. So, you know, I ended up joining, and then I got medically discharged because I shattered my knees when I was in. And yeah, it was.
I want to go back. I want to go. I think we'll get back to that. But what about like childhood? Like, where were you in elementary school? What state or?
I was in Pennsylvania until I got to 8th grade. And then no, it was 9th grade. And then when I was a freshman in high school, I moved to Colorado. So
gotcha.
Yeah, it kind of, I don't know. There's a lot of work.
Yeah, you had siblings in Pennsylvania.
A lot of dude, I got 4 younger siblings. They're all terrorists now.
They're all terrorists now, but
just
you're
like my puppy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like my puppy.
You're the only righteous one. You were the oldest of four younger siblings growing up, essentially.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of 5. Yeah.
Wow. And what was, I mean, speaking broadly, what was that like? Like, what are your earliest memories of like being 5, 6 to 10 years old? Like, what kind of kid were you, and what was it like being the oldest? What's that dynamic?
I mean, like, it was good and bad because I was the one that everyone looked up to, supposedly, even though I was a bad kid growing up. But also I was the one that got blamed for everything growing up. You know what I mean? So, you know, any kind of trouble that happened with my younger siblings, somehow the blame ended up falling on me eventually. You know, I don't know, like, I feel like when it comes to it, like, I'm happy that I'm the big brother. Like, I feel like at this point, you know, I was able to, I don't know, like, to me, like, I started becoming like more of an individual, probably late middle school, early high school. And in my family, you know, it wasn't very like, I don't know, it didn't really promote individualism, if you could say. And it was very much so like, you know, I was raised in like a fundamental Baptist family, which was very strict. And, you know, like, they kind of wanted me to go by the book, you know what I mean? And for me, I stepped outside of that boundary, and I think I shook things up for my parents, and I don't think they were ready for that. But I do think that, like, showing that as an example, even though I didn't do it the right way, some of my younger siblings did go about it in a better way, and they were able to stand up for themselves and become individuals. You know, when, you know, not, you know, like they were able to kind of like just be themselves. And I feel like that was kind of like what my role in their life was growing up, was that like I was trying to show them like they need to stay true to themselves. They can't just like do everything that mom and dad says, because that's only going to get you so far in life. And like, I still hold a lot of my values that I grew up with. Like, I love my parents. I still have a good relationship with them. But, you know, at the end of the day, to me, I think individualism is important. And when I have a kid someday, I'm going to promote those kind of ideals as well. So I think that it's important to teach your kid to be themselves, you know? So
that's interesting. I appreciate you sharing all that. And it's not just like having younger siblings watching you and saying, okay, do that. That's good. Learning from your mistakes and successes, but it's not just about learning from your mistakes and successes. I guess it's more about like learning how to become a more authentic you in some ways. It's not about obeying your parents or disobeying your parents. It's about being your most authentic you. And that's interesting that you and cool that you brought that to your family. What are your siblings' names? Do you know?
I have siblings. So my siblings' names are Heidi, Luke, Logan, and Donovan.
Okay, so three guys and a girl. Did I get that correctly?
Yep.
And what because that's 5, so that's an odd number. This is another broad question, but is it always 3 on 2? Is it 4 on 1? Is it
It was me versus everyone. They were all
okay.
It was always me versus everyone. I mean, my sister kind of like was spoiled. She didn't really like do any, she wasn't too competitive growing up.
The only girl.
Yeah, she wasn't really that competitive. She just, if she wanted something, she got it. For us kids, the boys, they were all like always competing for something. We're all competitive. We all played sports growing up. So, it was definitely, me versus them a lot of the times because they, I don't know. Eventually it got to the point where I don't know, when we first all got in there, it was so 2 of my siblings are step siblings. My mom actually passed away when I was 9. My dad remarried. Or my dad remarried when I was 9. My mom had passed away a couple years before that. And with that, I got 2 awesome younger brothers that came with my stepmom. And I think that it was interesting because the dynamic in my household was that all 4 of my younger siblings are almost a year apart of each other. So they were all in high school at the same time in different grades. Whereas me, I'm over 4 years older than my next youngest sibling. So my sister was in 8th grade when I was a senior in high school. So we never really got to go to school. Those guys all kept each other in line. They would always tell each other or tell on each other with my parents, if somebody did something bad, my parents would always find out about it because one of my siblings would rat on them. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
everyone versus you. So the four of them would always turn you in a lot of the time for.
Oh
whatever.
Yeah, well yeah, of course. Somebody broke something you were supposed to be watching them. This is all your fault. Or they would all just be it was Ben's fault, even though I wasn't even in the room when it happened. Stuff like that. That's just how it was.
In what ways were you? I mean, it sounded like you did grow up in a strict household, but you said you were individualistic, and I don't know if you didn't use the word rebellious or something.
I was
like
rebellious for sure. I was.
I was gonna ask in what ways, and maybe I'll tie that into something we discussed before the show. You're talking about getting into music and stuff like that. So I'm guessing music maybe plays a role in
for sure. Yeah, this is all part of my story, man. For sure. Music played a huge role in my life. And the first punk band that I ever heard growing up was MxPx, and they're my favorite band to this day. And I heard them when I was 9 years old. And this was funny because I went to a Christian elementary school at this time, and they at least used to be. They used to call themselves a Christian punk band. And here's the little terrorist right here. Hi,
what's the little terrorist's name?
Her name's Sushi.
Sushi. Oh, I like that. I won't.
Yeah, she's got lots of fat rolls, so just sticking with that. So it was. I started off kind of with punk rock and everything, and they were kind of I don't know, my favorite bands. All of them were really talking about how to you need to be yourself, you need to stand up for yourself, you need to rebel against authority because other people don't always know what's best for you. Stuff like that, you know what I mean? And for me, as a young rebellious kid, that really resonated with me. I was already a troublemaker, but at the same time, I was in like you said, a pretty strict household. So where individualism wasn't encouraged or anything like that, I wasn't able to, express myself in the way I wanted to. the whole punk band stuff, like it started this huge thing. Like, you know, eventually my grandmother purchased me my first bass guitar, and I started playing music, and eventually guitar, keyboard, and I became a musician through my teenage years, and eventually started bands and toured the country. But all of that is thanks to, you know, like kind of like the punk bands that I was listening to growing up that were telling me, be yourself, go follow your own path or create your own path. Is really more so, you know, what I was saying is like you create your own future, which to me, that's the essence of individualism. You can't rely on somebody else to do it for you, you know, and as adults, we know this too, because, you know, we're not going to be able to count on things like Social Security when we're old enough to retire. So we got to plan for retirement ourselves. And, you know, like we get out of life what we put into it. And it really, like, even from a young age, I had a pretty good understanding, like, you know, the more you put into life, the more you get out of it. And you know, to, I don't know, like just be unique. Don't be scared to go against the grain or go against the mainstream culture or against the crowd. That's always been a popular idea with me. So,
and it really does sound like it was a fairly profound experience at 9 years old, discovering this band and this music.
I would say so.
And maybe you didn't understand Social Security and the system when you were 9 years old, but those same thoughts of being an individual and you know, looking out for yourself and being yourself and not wanting to rely on others or the government. Like it's still kind of the same lessons shining through. And it seems like it's more than just this band, MxPx, being the first kind of punk band that you discovered. Because like
the
you
first
said,
of many. Yeah.
Yeah, because they've been around for a while. I pulled up their info here and I see they released 13 studio albums over the years.
I own every single album they've ever put out. Like I have every single one. I've met them a million times, seen them a million times now. Yeah, like they're for sure. They're tattooed on my calf. Like they can't be more of a favorite band. They always will be. Even if I don't like listen to them every day, like they'll always be my favorite band because of the influence that they had on me. And their singer was like someone I looked up to growing up, you know? So
do you have like a real personal or like a friendship or an acquaintanceship, if that's a word, with them from seeing them, or just, you know, more like just a fan?
No, I'm really just a fan. Like I've met plenty of good bands in my lifetime and I've made friends with a lot of them. MxPx is not a band that I would say is like a friend. I'm definitely a fan. When I was 9, I mean, they were already like in their 20s putting out music. You know what I mean? So it's not like, you know, they were already several albums deep into their career, you know, and I was finding them for the first time. So
you were the 20th person at that show or that week that showed him a tattoo of the band.
Yes, I mean, I have several friends that have the same tattoo as me. Actually, someone we both probably know. You know DL Cummings?
I follow him.
Yeah. So he has the same tattoo as me on his calf as well. And we found out at Porkfest this last year because he was at Porkfest and we were both wearing shorts and we're like, oh, you're a Pokinatch, a punk? And we both compared tattoos. It's pretty funny.
No, that's cool. And that's something that like definitely brings you guys all together. I'm sure it's like that common love for the music. When did you start playing? You said your grandmother got you a guitar, a bass guitar. I
think she got me a guitar when I was like 11, and that kind of is what kickstarted things. Definitely against my parents' will, but they didn't make me return it or anything. They still let me play it and all this stuff. You know, and eventually, you know, like through high school, I learned guitar, like I said, and keyboard, and I can play drums, and I do a lot of like music production now. And I don't know, like I think that like that foundation of playing bass really helped me grow into all those other instruments as well. So
how do you learn how to play these instruments, or you don't really have to know because you're playing punk music?
I'm completely self-taught. So if I hear something that I like, I didn't really have access to the internet at the time too much. So I was pretty much listening to things and writing down on paper what's called tablature.
Sure.
And you know what tabs are. And I would kind of just have to figure things out, which is easy to do on a bass. It's not as easy to do on a guitar. So, but a couple years later, I started getting more in the internet and stuff, and I would get tabs and I would learn chords on guitar. And I don't know, I wish I had the tools that they have today for this stuff, because YouTube has everything. I didn't have any of that stuff growing up.
I play a little bit, obviously, guitar, and it's like overwhelming how much you can learn from the internet now. Like I wish I had like 50 hours in a day where I could just go through a guitar lesson after guitar lesson on YouTube and slowing it down and working on whatever it is. Like, just, there's so much information out there. I mean, that's how other than going to an academic environment and learning how to formally read music and all that stuff, most people, I feel like it's cool that we can all have this access to this information, and you learn by, like you're saying, by ear, by playing with others, by the tabs, by just listening to music, by playing what you like and experimenting. The lessons on the online are amazing too. It's like,
yeah, I think that like kids today are just really spoiled with that stuff, and I think that there's something special about being able to learn by your ears, too. But I don't know, when it comes to like music and stuff, like ultimately, I think that like just having some kind of like art like that will like mold your mind at a young age. I think it's important. Like my parents had, like when I was a really young kid, they tried to get me into piano lessons. Sorry, hiccups. Try to get me into piano lessons. And, I hated that because it was forced on me and it's not something I was interested in doing. So I pretty quickly gave up on that. So then when I went back to try to learn keyboard and do all that stuff, it actually was, I don't know. I think it was easier just because I was something I wanted to do. It wasn't something that I had to do, Definitely has to be a desire there for it. So
that's interesting. Because I played trumpet also from like 3rd grade to 8th grade, and I did like it, and I was pretty good at it, but I never really stuck with it. But I've been thinking more about getting back into it because I haven't played in so long, and I'm working on it, getting it fixed and all that, the valves on my trumpet and all that. But I want to like see if maybe I can apply some of my knowledge and interests that I've accumulated from the guitar, like learning, playing blues scales and rock scales and jamming along to, music, but doing it on trumpet. Like, it's such a fun thing. Like, you can always like music is so cool because it's something that's like free, like just to play an instrument, and it's something you have for the rest of your life.
It's literally forever entertainment for yourself and for others. Whenever you learn your trumpet, let me know and we can start a ska project. So,
oh man, I might have others to refer to you who are more in the ska world. Like,
okay, I'm not huge on ska, but like I do like bands like Goldfinger, which is like punk, but they'll like incorporate horns into it. I think that's just fun,
All right, so you were in Pennsylvania in elementary school, and then you went to Colorado.
Colorado, yeah. All my high school years were in Colorado. Yeah.
Was your whole family traveling with all?
Well, my dad got a job working out there, so that's why we moved there. And I mean, it was good. I love Colorado. I would consider it a second home to this day. It just not just because of that's where my family is still, because like I honestly like the culture in Colorado is just different. It's just so rich with art, and like that's just something that's really important to me. And I think the people that I grew relationships with over time, it was great. It's just, I think that's it's a beautiful state. I'm also an outdoorsman and a hunter, and Colorado is great for all that.
For sure. What about just the moving in itself? Was that traumatic or challenging, or leaving people you knew as a kid? Was that hard for you and your family?
The hardest thing I ever had to do was leave my 9th grade girlfriend in Pennsylvania. We wrote letters back and forth to each other for a couple months, but that's as far as that went, unfortunately.
Yeah. Are you able to? Because like I feel like looking back at me, I was like too immature and I still am in a lot of ways, but like to even see like the forest for the trees and appreciating the experience with a person for what it is at the time, and realizing it's okay that this person is not your future and this is life, but you're so like torn up about it. You're not emotionally developed enough to be able to.
I was so mad, dude. I was so mad. Like I was like telling my dad, I was like, "You're making me leave my girlfriend and all my friends and everything I care about."
Right. I'm confirming you handled it poorly, as expected.
I was definitely. I handled it very poorly. I was moping the entire drive. I was angry about the whole thing. Oh, it wasn't good.
That's so comforting to know, because I think that's what everyone does and goes through when you're in early relationships in our life like that. You're muted.
Sorry, it was definitely pretty traumatic. My dog is like being a terrorist and trying to eat all my cables again. So.
Oh, I see. I was like, oh, she's not being
so I'm trying to
loud.
I'm trying to get my stuff here so she doesn't eat it anymore, but
you got to feed her. Feed. Is it male or female?
Oh, it's a she.
It's a she. I don't want to misgender your dog.
We can just call her they them.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what does the dog identify as?
Yeah, what do you think? Or you want to go as a they them? Is that okay with you? No, she wants to be a girl. She is a girl.
Wants to eat cables.
She's actually kind of a bitch right now, to be honest with you.
That's probably that's like some kind of fetish thing too, is like the people who eat, or it's like a disorder, like they eat the couch cushions, like eating cables. There's probably a word for that. Yeah. I bet there's a word.
Dude, I've seen like really weird episodes of stuff like where people will like just eat the most bizarre thing. And I feel like that's definitely something that would happen. Like somebody would just like chew on cables or something, or eat the rubber off of them.
They're just as crazy for doing it if they're being paid for it as if they enjoy it. Just the same. Your sanity is still,
even if they were actors and faking the whole time, that's still very weird.
Yeah, you're sick. Something went wrong in your life at some point.
Right.
So you were in high school in Colorado, or you're somewhere else?
Yep. High school was Colorado, and then I also did college there mostly, and that's also where I had enlisted when I was like finishing up college. I was about 20, something like that.
And this was what year is what name the wars at the time?
Well, I graduated high school in 2008. So really, like when I joined, Obama was in office, and he was getting us in all kinds of problems. So
right, but in some ways, either the perception or even like the way he got elected was from like more of the anti-war and wanting to that's Iraq, but
this is just the story of all the politicians, though. So they just like feast on whatever is hip at the time when it comes to war. So that's what's funny. I was just having this conversation with a bunch of people in Discord last night, and the economy is, I would agree, probably the issue that people care about more than anything, and that is tied to war. But like, it is surprising to hear that so many people like don't have that as their top issue. For me, I think it always has been a crazy issue, even though I joined the military. It's still like something that is like, let me just tell you, like, if someone out there is like looking at the military and they have an I can fix her attitude for the military, it's just not going to happen. Like, you can't fix the military. You can't, a lot of times people that go there too, they already have their mindset on what's acceptable with war as well. They're not going to be people who are as open-minded, not usually until they get discharged or become veterans and disabled. That's when people will change their mind about the whole thing. People who go through their careers and they don't get hurt, or they don't have their best friends die, they're going to stay probably supportive of the military their whole life. Some of them will die and they'll stay patriotic for their friends, but a lot of the people like in our movement, like the Liberty movement, they had a very clear moment when they were in that changed them. And a lot of times it was something traumatic that happened, or just learning the truth. And sometimes it takes a blinder to be lifted for us to really understand what happens over there and what it actually looks like,
Yeah, I think I definitely cannot speak to any of this from personal experience, but is it almost like it's a traumatic event triggers one to ask, is this worth it? Is that like the gist of it?
I think so, dude. Like, I think that like a lot of people that join the military will be faced asking themselves that question, like, is this worth it? And to be honest, they don't pay anybody enough to make any of it worth it. So the answer most of the time is no. And I mean, I wish it was more of the time, I should say, but there's actually like a lot of people that, I don't know, they go in and they never get out of that mindset of, I think a lot of them have like a victim mindset. Like, I don't know, like the other countries are picking on us still, you know, as if we're not the encroachers or the bad guys.
Yeah, people can convince themselves of anything. And it's interesting you say that you use the term bad guys, because I've been having this conversation even just the last few days with people, like, what is the predominant like ideology or lesson that I got out of my entire public schooling from kindergarten through 12th grade? And more than anything in any subject that I learned or anything that I, you know, throughout that time, the idea that the United States is the good guy was always
we're socialized to believe that from,
that's
from a very young age.
I think that's, I don't know if it's just what I took away from it, and because of, you know, whatever, my political evolution and stuff, but I really think that was like, if you could ask the powers that be what should be priority, I think would be like not having people not question like the good guyness of the United States.
Yes. If you question if the US is the good guy ever, even, it doesn't have to be about the military. You can just be talking about history class in general, like going through your basic history of the United States, where we like came over here and, I don't know, like took over the land of a bunch of Indians and slaughtered.
Manifest destiny, that's what they call it, not genocide.
And like every war that's ever happened that the US has been involved with, if you question anything about it or say that the US might not be the, like, that's just not gonna, you know, we're all socialized to basically believe, we're all told to say the Pledge of Allegiance from the second we're able to memorize things in first grade. You know what I mean? Like it's, I don't know. I don't even know if they still do the Pledge of Allegiance. I would assume that they still do, but they might not anymore. I don't know.
And at the same time, we don't really value any of the important values and Bill of Rights things, all the good things that like America should represent. And I think the powers that be also, it's in their benefit to like make the people and the government and the word United States, it's all like one and the same. So when you're criticizing what the military does, it's like, you don't like me, I'm a person with a flag, you're talking, you don't like it, you know, because you criticize what a government is doing overseas. I also think like it's I think out of sight, out of mind, and it's like all these drone bombings and wars. Those are brown people overseas. Who cares about that? It's far away. It's not. It's almost like not real. They're not even like humans to a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, it's not in their backyards until it is. So, I don't know. Like I question why we care about it so much all the time, but at the same time, like there is like a humanitarian side to this. And one sec, I'm gonna get this dog hat. Grabbed another thing of my thing. Like,
yeah, you good?
Like she's a terrorist, but there's a humanitarian side to all of this stuff, and I don't think people understand that the humanitarian crises that are happening overseas are induced by war. And they're causing all the problems in the first place. You know what I mean? So like the war in Yemen and just in general, like we're funding both sides of every war and facilitating the destruction of their towns in mass because we're giving them the bombs and the weapons and the guns and the training. And, you know, we only see it at the other end of it. Like, oh my goodness, you know, Aleppo is basically destroyed right now. We need to send them aid and all of this. Like, okay, can we just ask, how did we get there? Like, I know, like, you know, there was Russia involved, but there's definitely US involvement. And I don't know, we keep giving them all this money and these guns and these bombs, and Raytheon is making more money than they ever have. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know.
You know, it's almost like I think I need to. When I first learned the phrase military industrial complex, I used it a lot, and I still do use it a lot in speaking and in conversation. But maybe I should really just be calling it the war industry, Like that's really, it's just an industry, like, and that's what it's treated as. And thinking about just like the Ukraine war, it's budgeted. It's on like a Google calendar. It's like, okay, how much do we need for the war? We need to have $3 billion for the next 6 months, blah, 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 blah. Like, what about like winning the war or like ending
there's
the war?
never going to be talks of winning.
Or prioritize. Yeah, forget it. We're not. No one's winning that war, but Ukraine's not winning that war. But like, what about prioritizing peace talks? What about Tuesday, meet with so and so and work on peace talks? It's like, here's the budget for the war, and they like schedule it. It's nuts.
Yeah, it really is, dude, and it doesn't it just doesn't stop. I mean, they just passed even more. They passed even more of a budget increase for Ukraine and Israel just within the last couple weeks. So
it's only
I don't see it slowing down. I don't know. I've been an anti-war advocate my whole life, or a good portion of my life. Since I was a teenager, I've been anti-war.
How long were you in? I was gonna ask, how long were you in the military, and were you overseas in
year and a half? I never got deployed. I actually shattered my knees going to school when the rest of my unit was deployed. So I would have been, but I did not. I'm very fortunate I didn't, because a lot of the people who went on that trip didn't come back the same or at all. So,
and most of them were in the Middle East somewhere, I'm guessing.
Yeah. They kind of, yes. So a lot of them ended up going to Iran, or maybe it was Kosovo. Definitely, yeah. But they're a mechanized unit, so they kind of moved around, which mechanized unit means that they are on basically Humvees, like with mounts on top. And those are the guys who get blown up by IEDs all the time. So that's kind of what happened to a couple of my buddies. They got hit by IEDs, and one of them ended up getting hit in the back of the head and put in a coma for 3 weeks. It was crazy.
Damn.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. What happened when you came back, when you were done with your military part of your life?
Well, as soon as I got out of the military, I started my first band. So I started working constructions to fund my expensive hobbies. And from there, I just started playing music. It was something I always loved to do. I wanted to do it. And I just decided to do the damn thing. And I don't know. That started a long history of fun for me. Cause I mean, it was from the age of, I don't know, it was like 21 till the age of, really my last concert was in 2020, right before the venues all shut down from COVID. So really like 10 years of touring and playing with some of my favorite bands. And then I also ended up, I still write, even though now I'm in New Hampshire. I don't have like a lot of people around me. Sorry about the dog guy. I don't have like a lot of like musicians around me right now that I've met, but I'm networking, and I've still released a couple of songs DIY that I've recorded by myself and with one of my friends. Still trying to play music, still make music at my house here. I have like a whole studio set up, so I have my podcast, but then I also do music when I have time. I've had a really crazy last 4 or 5 months, so I've spent a lot more time writing lyrics to music than actually playing music. So, I don't know, man. It's been pretty crazy. Music's definitely been kind of like the centerfold staple of all of it, though. So
it's important. It seems it's important. It's part of like, I think very few people don't like music at all. Once in a while, I'll meet someone who's like, "Yeah, I know it does nothing for me. I don't like any genres." No, I really like. They really.
It's so rare though. Like it brings people together. It does.
Most people appreciate it on some level. You know what I wanted to ask? Because you said you got into construction, like, because I kind of know how or one might learn and get better at music, but like, what about like those outdoorsy skills? Did you pick that up from family, from living in Colorado?
Dude, my whole life, man. Yeah, dude. Like I've always been an out like kind of like a hobby guy. Like my dad taught me to do woodworking at a young age. When I was like 12, I was like, Dad, I want my own bedroom. So he's like took me downstairs. He's like, all right, well, if you want your own bedroom, we're gonna have to like put a wall up here and turn this part into your room. And he's like, you're gonna do it. It's like, okay, cool. So from a young age, like I was starting to learn how to frame and run wire, and I did tiling. Even now, like I bought a house in 2022, and I already sold it, but I flipped it. You know, I took like an older house and I just fixed it up, and this is, I don't know, I love doing projects like that. It keeps me busy, and I also really like to see. I like to turn things that are, you know, like old houses that are kind of run down or ugly and make them something that's livable and that you're proud of, you know? So
yeah, that's super satisfying to see.
Yeah.
Really.
The construction I work is more like pipelining, like gas. And I started off with natural gas, and then I ended up moving into like sewer and drain, installation and rehabilitation, stuff like that. But like all of my skills that I've learned throughout, like, you know, I was also like an electrician apprentice for like a year, and I hated it. So I moved to do this, but, I don't know. There's just, I think that all of them just kind of move together. And I'm like, I like to say, like, it's a pretty common expression, but, jack of all trades, master of none. I can make things look good, but you're definitely going to be able to tell the difference between something that I do and someone who does it for a living. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I feel that. Maybe I think I'm a jack of different trades. Maybe like my garbage disposal, my sink got all messed up. I was ready to call everyone I know, like in a panic attack. I'm like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Then I'll take a breath, go back on YouTube to find some video I watched 3 years ago, and oh yeah, that's how you do it.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, YouTube's your best friend for DIY stuff too.
That is true. Even people like yourself who are more skilled at home projects and things like that, I would be like, where did you learn
I use
to do
YouTube
that?
all the time. Like I can remember how to do a lot of it, but like I just want to like a refresher of like, okay, yeah, this is how I do it. That way I don't like mess it up, you know.
Visual learning, audio learning, that's like that helps.
Why don't we just have YouTube take over elementary school and middle school, so we don't have to publicly fund it anymore? I feel like that's just the play. We just need to say no more. Let's just do school through YouTube.
People like me and you want to abolish public schooling, but I think it's also the smarter thing to acknowledge if it's going to exist, let's try to make it better and more efficient. And I just keep arguing over and over again to have like, you know, maybe some broad education, you know, part of your life and part of your day, and maybe more significant when you're younger. But pretty early on, all education should be is supporting curiosities, because that's because I don't know, these kids, these young kids with their technology and their coding and their graphics and their all this stuff, like they're gonna find jobs and be relevant in the future.
Yeah,
if you encourage their fuel, whatever it is, all those things.
You've got to like help them be like, you know, ingenuity, like breed that into their minds. And
that's not what public school is for.
No, it's not. But I mean, I think that that's what art is for. I think that that is what sports can be for. You know, like you learn, you know, how to work as a team, and there's rules you got to follow with sports, but
life lessons.
Yeah, life lessons. You know, but I think art and you know, I don't know, art is always kind of something that's been countercultural too. So I think that, you know, when it comes to schooling, a lot of what sucks is that like a lot of the art teachers in schooling are like super hyper woke these days. So they're like, I
wouldn't be surprised.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not in school. I don't have any kids right now yet or anything, but I'm going to. And it's just, I feel like, it's kind of weird, dude. Like looking at public school and be like, man, these people have to teach our kids. Like, what's going to happen to the next generation of people? You know, like what do we do here? So,
be active and engaged in your community, or homeschool, or doctor, or professor YouTube, or whatever. You know?
Yeah. Well, like, there's
hard.
alternative schools. They're just expensive,
Yeah.
So.
No, it's certainly a challenge. This world is getting more and more complicated and expensive.
Yeah. It's definitely not getting any cheaper. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure. So you can catch me up to date from military to music to, I know you said you had a couple of podcasts and things like that and whatnot.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like these days, like I kind of like dabble in political stuff. I started the Emo Caucus. I've got my podcast, Shut the Punk Up, which I do feature a lot of like liberty focused people, but I also interview musicians and talk about countercultural, in anti-cancel culture stuff. But I don't know, like I have a great time with my show. I try to host it every Wednesday and Sunday. Sometimes I'll have it on off days. This Wednesday, I'm going to see Sum 41 for their last show. But they're doing their final tour, so I had to go see them. But I also do like I said, I have the Emo Caucus, and I'm currently in the process of starting a nonprofit, which I can't really say anything too much about yet, but it's definitely going to be like the biggest project I've ever been a part of. And I'm going to be able to take what my goals and my mission is to the street a lot easier. Not really necessarily easier, but like on a more legit basis, and go out there and like actually try to help fix and help people that are struggling, and actually like change real life stuff instead of just getting stuck in like Libertarian Party stuff where like our biggest challenge is who's gonna win who's gonna be the next treasurer for our county. You know what I mean?
So it's so you're talking about a nonprofit it's something adjacent to politics, but more focused on.
It's going to be a 501c4. So it'll be a nonprofit that is able to contribute to political causes, and social causes. So we will be able to like endorse candidates and promote, general welfare through social causes and everything. We're not going to be able to be officially affiliated with any kind of political party. But, I do think that there's a lot of overlap between what I'm planning to do with that and what I'm doing with my nonprofit. So I think that they'll both kind of like play to the same end goal, essentially. So
when did you go? That's cool. When did you go from like someone who's like has rebellious streak into punk music, identify with these kinds of ideas, to someone who became more of a political person, be it an activist or whatever, or just engaged more? And when did that happen?
I mean, I didn't really like start getting involved with the Libertarian Party and doing like stuff like that, or even watching it or paying attention till like 2018. I was always kind of political in my opinions. I was always called myself a libertarian and voted libertarian. Before I call myself a libertarian, I call myself an anarchist first. That's just
that was even when you were 16, 17, 18, if I remember.
I'm an anarchist first and foremost, but I think that you can't be an anarchist without being a libertarian if you're going to do it the right way. So I think that the two things are completely coincide, and I don't think that like there's any area, or I don't think that there's even a gray area. I think that we have this mindset as libertarians, like we don't want the government to intrude on our life. We want everyone to like be individuals and respect each other's individuality and don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. Well, guess what? We can't do that even in a minarchy, even in the smallest limited government possible. You still have government, and they're still going to encroach on your lives. So I think that to me, I'm not utopian. I know it's not possible. I know it's never going to happen. But yeah, I'm an anarchist, and I do think that the way I talk to people about it is more kind of approachable, because like I said, like I'm not like I'm not like unrealistic. Like I know it's never going to happen, but I don't think limited small government is ever going to happen either. So can we just be principled about it? Can we just talk about, what we think and why we think the government is wrong? And, to be honest with you, if we did get to minarchy, we can talk about minarchy versus anarchy when we get to that point, but we're not even ever going to get close to that. So like us arguing over small government versus no government, it's a pointless debate for us right now because we have a government that's never been bigger and we're not doing anything to shrink the size of it at all. So, or reduce its impact.
Is that how you defined anarchy, as having no rulers or no government? The idea of no government, is that how you looked at anarchy and in those terms, even at like when you were in high school? What did it become more developed? Or I mean,
like it definitely like no government. And the more I would learn about anarchism and anarcho-capitalism and all the types of anarchy, the more I would understand that, it's just because you don't have government doesn't mean you don't have governance. And I think there's a distinction there that a lot of people like they have a hard time making. But ultimately, like, I don't know, like when I was younger, I probably wasn't a very smart, educated anarchist. I was still reading a lot. I didn't start reading like actually like good intellectual books about it until I was in college. I started reading, about Emma Goldman and, obviously I also read like Rothbard and Ludwig von Mises and all these other people who, some of them were anarchists, some of them were not anarchists. I think that like, really, like, I think that's probably what it was in 2018. I think that's really what kicked it off, is that like, I just wanted to stop being one of those people who just complains on the internet all the time. And I'm out here like talking to people at my concerts that I'd perform. I'd be like, let's go out there. Like, let's go make an impact in the streets. And that's all I'd say is I'd say it and then we wouldn't do it because we're just talking about it in person or, online. I wanted to actually go try to make an impact. And that's why I started getting involved with the Libertarian Party. And that's why I'm starting my nonprofit, which to me, I think is going to have a bigger impact than anything I've ever done with anything in the Libertarian Party that's ever happened. So, and I've been with the LP for like 6 years. So, on like a working basis. So
cool. It's interesting to like, it sounds like, when you were in high school that you had these sort of philosophies and ideologies that you believed in, but over the years, as you just grown as a person and just learned more and done more research and reading, like you start to develop and flesh out your like own ideas, and that makes you like a better candidate, libertarian, advocate for what you believe in and all these things. And it's sort of like limitless in a way, like how much you can learn about the philosophy and be able to like, you can't get too good at being a communicator, and that only helps you in your life, and in many ways. And it's kind of like music in a way. It's like there's no limit on how much like music and like you can love or limit.
That's what's so cool about music is like everybody has that artist that like speaks to them, and musicians and artists have like this thing that like like we have this like scene where we respect each other's opinions even if they're shitty. And I think that's kind of why like I try to like gear my focus there, is because these are my people. These are the people I've known for so many years. It's I feel like it's just these are just like the people that I speak to the most and I can relate to and I can talk to them. So, and I know there's a lot of artists that want to be that kind of influence on people where like they stand up against cancel culture and stuff like that. And I want to have the ability to kind of amplify and promote those type of people, instead of us just always as a culture and as people amplifying only the shittiest, loudest voices. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's so cool that you take action, and I admire people who take action. And like, again, I feel like I connect it back to like the idea of like, I think we really put limits on ourselves, or limits or in our society were are forced upon us in one way or another, and that can be frustrating and really stymie society, because there are no limits on terms of like how much one can put out music or build nonprofits that help society, or even just simple actions like having gratitude or sharing love. There's no like limit on this stuff.
No.
And I feel like people like we almost like forget that. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of resources that are finite, and that's not one of them. So, I don't know, I guess I think that like building up our relationships with other people is one of the most important things we can do. And, like at the end of the day, making money is great. Having a nice house is great. Doing all this stuff is great. You need money to survive. I agree. But like when it comes down to it, what makes somebody satisfied in their life is usually the relationships and experiences that they had throughout the process. So the more positive relationships you can have, or the more positive influence you can have on people to go out and create something like that for themselves, the better. And that's what I try to do. And I think that that's what a lot of libertarians want to do and try to do. I think that's why that's why we want to see the individual freedoms respected more, for everybody. And I think that's why we get so worked up about things online and we fight all the time. But realistically, I don't know. There's a big void that needs filled. And I don't know, man. I think that we all need to do better. We definitely all need to love each other a little more.
That's the name of the game, though. What you just said and what you said a minute ago about do this thing and then do that thing and then you got to do this thing. I was like, oh shit, that makes perfect sense. I got to clip that, or just for my personal reminders of my life. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going back and using that for motivational for myself. You're firing up the troops. No, man, your stories inspiring for sure. And you're doing okay health wise. I know you had like a health scare in the last.
Yep, I'm cancer free now. I found cancer in December and I got it cut out in February. And in a day or two, I will be back at work full time, and hopefully without any kind of cane support or anything. Like I'm able to kind of walk a lot better now, and I've just been strengthening my leg up, but I'm cancer free. I'm good to go. That helped me too. Like get my mind focused where it needed to be too. It made me want to go and do things that, I haven't really done a lot of. So, I think that it's going to keep, I'm going to keep focusing on my goals with that, and, focusing on, my nonprofit is going to be, kind of like probably my main focus going forward once we launch it. We already have our board set up. We've already put in the paperwork. We've got a lot of our marketing stuff in place. And we should be dropping that probably by June, maybe mid to late June. We'll start dropping information on that. So
that's cool.
Very exciting.
Yeah, definitely exciting. Congrats on that, and glad you're well. Having the health scare, that's can be a kick in the ass to get priorities, goals, and things in order to some degrees. That kind of goes along with it, or can.
Yeah, it definitely shook things up for me quite a bit.
I bet.
I did not have that on my bingo card for this year or last year, but I'm very glad and fortunate that I didn't need any kind of chemo or radiation. They were able to just cut it out. So I'll have to go get testing from time to time just to verify that, like, it's all good, but everything checks out as of right now. So
good. What about ghosts and aliens? Do we believe in those? Had any personal experiences with either UFOs, any of that stuff?
I believe when I was young, I saw ghosts. And I 100% believe in aliens. Like, I think that, like, I'm definitely a firm believer in alien. And I like ancient astronaut theory. I have a bunch of theories about all of this stuff. But I don't know, dude. Like, this is a tangent. I could do a whole show just on that.
Well, you said
I love it.
You said you're pretty sure you saw ghosts or had experiences when you're younger, and you believe in aliens, but you didn't say you had personal experiences with UFOs or aliens. So we can just do the quick version, or the just quick response to that. Did you have you had alien UFO? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Puppies being a terrorist again.
I figured.
I haven't had any experiences with UFOs. I know people who have. Actually interviewed Shane Cashman, who's with Timcast. He's had experiences with UFOs. But I'll say that we would be foolish to think we are the only beings in the world or in the universe. And I think there's a lot of things that can be explained through the existence of, the Anunnaki or the aliens and stuff. So, like even like religiously, architecturally, there's like a million things that can be explained this way. And like, I'm a Christian, and I know that like some of this might sound like heresy to people who are Christians out there, but like, I don't think that the ideas have to be counter to each other. I think they actually can kind of work together to explain a lot of things. Like some people might even call angels and demons aliens. You know what I'm saying?
I've heard more. This seems to be coming up more and more, where more people are kind of just like believing that aliens, angels, and demons are all kind of like, demon aliens and angel aliens.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's what like, that's like, to me, I watch a lot of Ancient Aliens. I love that show, but like, to me, like, if you dig past that and you like talk to people who have experienced stuff like that, then like, I think that like, that's what really sealed it for me. Like, I've met a lot of people that have said they've had experiences, and
I asked people this damn question 150 times already, and more than half of them are like, that makes my goosebumps and all this stuff.
I can't say that I've experienced aliens. I think I've definitely experienced ghosts for sure.
What? Anything specific that what? I know I've taken up a lot of your time already.
No, you're good. I'm more like, I feel bad because this puppy's just been a complete terrorist for the entire show. I'll have to come back when my girlfriend's here and can watch the dog. But no, like, I think that like from a young age, I remember like at my grandma's house, I remember seeing a kid that everyone told me wasn't there. And that was kind of weird. And then also like the recent house that I just flipped was built in 1847. It was one of the first chapels built in my town. And dude, like doors slamming and all kinds of stuff. I don't know, like pretty wild. Like you definitely like feel the energy in there. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a different type of energy when you walked in.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, I've also been to like the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, which is where The Shining was filmed. And that's a haunted hotel for sure. Like they definitely haunted there. Like I didn't experience anything there, but you can feel it. And I've had a lot of friends tell me like their blinds would shoot up in the middle of the night if they stayed the night there, like stuff like that. So
yeah, I haven't had any personal experiences like that, but I think I might and could at some point, because it's not. Because I guess what I used to believe more, and I'm formulating these thoughts in the moment, is that like the only people who get haunted or experiences that are like not even people who are looking for it, but people who like need, like they have some unresolved shit. You don't have to have some unresolved shit for blinds to shoot up in the middle of the night for no reason.
Yeah.
Because it's the place. The objects and places definitely have an energy. And I think the fact that we give them meaning and maybe put our human experiences in it all.
Even like a lot of these movies that are based on real life stories, like I realize there's a lot of Hollywood added into them, but like people had like an actual experience like this. Like this isn't all made up. There are tens of thousands of cases of people experiencing this stuff. There's no way that it can be fake. You know what I'm saying? Like if anyone like believes in anything spiritual too, like you almost have to believe that stuff is real. Like, you would like have to be the most devout atheist in the world to not believe that there's anything spiritual going on outside of your own faith or realm of possibility. If you think that like, if like a lot of Christians will like say like that ghosts don't exist. And like from growing up in that church field, and I just think that's so ridiculous. Like how can you believe all this stuff but not believe that something outside of your contrary to your teaching is possible? Like I just think that like your book doesn't explain everything. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm not trying to be blasphemous here. Like I said, I'm a Christian, but like at the same time, like a lot of Christians will think that everything I just said is heresy. So
Believe in spirituality. No, not like that.
right. Yeah. That's how it is though. That's there's like hundreds of denominations of Christians and all kinds of religions all over the place. It's all, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all rock and roll to me, dude.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think more in terms of my relationship with my creator and take things from there. I get confused a lot by the middle people, but I guess they can serve a role too. But anything else we should cover, you want to talk about, or you want to mention, you could plug your stuff again or whatever, but I'll give you the floor to do your thing.
Sure. So I am going to be DJing 3 nights in a row at the Washington, D.C. Libertarian Party National Convention.
Oh, shit. That's cool. I'll be there.
On Friday night, I'll be doing the Enemy of the State Party that's hosted by New Jersey boys. Saturday night, the Emo Caucus is throwing a huge punk rock karaoke party. And then Sunday, I'm also DJing the gala for it. And then I'm also going to be having a huge week-long awesome time of events at PorkFest. I have a hub. So we're going to be doing probably like 10 to 15 different big events, including like an emo night, another punk rock karaoke. We got like, I'm DJing a couple times, and then I've also got like some speakers coming up, and yeah, it's going to be a good time. So that's kind of like what I have planned right now. Other than that, people that are watching, they can find the Emo Caucus on Twitter or me, the Emo ANCAP. My show, Shut the Punk Up, is on YouTube, Rumble. I post it on Twitter, Facebook, pretty much everywhere. So, no, but dude, I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
For sure. I appreciate the time and glad you're well and things are coming down the pike, whatever that phrase is. And that's exciting too. Yeah. And I will see you in Washington, D.C. and enjoy the rest of your evening. I know you're on East Coast time there.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's been good being on. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll do this again sometime soon.
Oh, for sure. Talk soon. Peace. So there you have it. Episode 153 with Ben Weir. That was so much fun. Glad Ben is doing well. And I definitely appreciate his time and look forward to hanging out in Washington, D.C. in a couple of weeks. Anyway, for everything about this show, of course, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com, at People We Love Podcast on Instagram, at Adam Choid on Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me, adamchoid.com for all other stuff that I'm working on. But I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening and watching. Thank you as always, and let's talk soon. Peace.